Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Johnson. I lead our customer and executive marketing team here at Okta, and joining me today is Brett Winterford. Brett, congratulations on heading up Okta Threat Intelligence. It's a new team. Can you tell us a little bit more about this team, what you're doing, and why Okta has launched it?
Great, thank you. So Okta's always had great visibility into identity-based attacks against both workforce users and against the customers of our customers, so customer identity flows. So we see a lot of common attacks like phishing and credential stuffing, password spray, etc. all the time, and we tend to use that intelligence to improve our products. Over time, though, we've been thinking our customers would probably make better configuration decisions, better investment decisions in their security programs if they better understood likelihood and impact of different types of threats. So we want to get intelligence in their hands as close as possible to the time that we've observed attacks on one of our other customers, for example. So we want to anonymize what we see in the threat landscape and provide some really actionable advice to our customers.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm sure your team has these conversations all the time, so having it in the report, it must be very helpful. Your team just launched this new report, and you talk about how generative AI is being leveraged in some of these really sophisticated campaigns like WageMole and the DPRK IT worker campaign. It's fascinating, and frankly, it's a little scary. Could you tell us more about the role that generative AI plays and how these bad actors are using it?
Great. Well, first of all, the DPRK IT worker scheme, to give you an understanding of what it is the DPRK, the North Korean regime, has mobilized hundreds and thousands of highly technically skilled individuals into neighboring countries like China and Southeast Asia. And they have facilitators over here in Western countries who then arrange for those individuals to be able to work for Western companies to raise revenue for the state. Now, you probably would think, how on earth would my organization ever employ someone who's working from China?
Right.
And the way that they do it is because their mastery of generative AI. They are very, very good at using generative AI to create the perfect CV and the perfect cover letter, and to ensure that they can get through an interview process without anyone being able to identify that there's something amiss, and then to keep the job as long as possible. So they will learn skills on the fly using generative AI tools to ensure that they can get as many paychecks as they can before their performance starts to get noticed, because they're often working for 8 or 9 employers at once. So typically they get found out within a certain amount of time. To illustrate for you just how far they take it, they're very committed to test and learn. So what they'll do, for example, is we were very surprised to see that they create job advertisements, fake job advertisements, in order to take in real job applications, real CVs and cover letters, and use that as a training set to optimize the fake CVs and cover letters that they're using to apply for real jobs. So you have real job applications for fake jobs being used for fake identities, fake people trying to get real jobs. And their way of doing this is to make sure that they understand a lot of the automations that the industry uses to kind of weed out fraudulent job applications. So they use generative AI very extensively. They also use it to manage the hundreds of fake identities that the facilitators are working with at any time, and the thousands of employers they're trying to apply for jobs with. It's a management headache, so why not have a generative AI bot do it all for you?
Oh my gosh, it's sophisticated. And I think the report paints a picture of a highly sophisticated, organized, resourceful operation. So kind of 2 questions. 1, how concerned should businesses be? And is there anything you can share on the scale of generative AI-powered activity that you're seeing?
Sure. So in terms of how worried you should be, if you are advertising a remote technical role anywhere in the world, you should be worried about this threat. This is not a threat that is isolated to tech companies here in San Francisco, although we've seen a lot of it historically. This is something that we're noticing now. They will apply for jobs anywhere in the world, in Europe, in Asia Pacific. If you're advertising for a remote technical role, they see that as an opportunity to earn money. In terms of the scale of activity, it's genuinely frightening just how many applications are coming through. I mean, SentinelOne, one of our partners just here this week, put out a report that said, They had observed 1,000 fake job applications from over 300 fake identities that they could link explicitly to the DPRK just in the last few months. So the scale of the activity is enormous.
Yeah.
There's a lot to filter through. And again, if you're someone who is advertising remote technical roles at the moment, you might not realize it, but you've probably already been targeted.
That is wild. So what are some of the key takeaways or mitigating controls that organizations should implement based on your team's findings so they can protect themselves from these types of threats?
So we try and tell our customers to do three things. Mm-hmm. First of all, you want to be able to use the intelligence, like what we've put in this report, to educate your talent teams, your recruiters. You want to also educate your procurement teams, anyone who's dealing with contracted staff, to be able to identify some of those tells, those little clues that might indicate that something is amiss during the recruiting or onboarding process. So we've got a range of advice for them there. Second, from a protective control capacity, you want to be able to verify the identity of an individual from the first time they touch one of your systems right through to when they are onboarding with your organization. So identity verification technologies, these are services, for example, where you have to put forward a government-issued ID and do a liveliness check. They are really, really great tools in terms of getting that information day one, and then every time that individual interacts with you and up until they are an employee, you're using that same technology. We use it here at Okta. We use a third-party service called Persona. Mm-hmm. We have a number of these services now that are like one-click integrations with Okta so that our customers can protect themselves. So it's really important that you are consistently verifying the identity of individuals right through the process. Third, if an individual that's associated with one of these schemes ends up performing work for your organization through some capacity, what the facilitators of these schemes do is that they will redirect the shipping of a company-issued laptop to what we call a laptop farm. So that's a residential premises or a commercial premises where there's hundreds of these machines operating, and the DPRK nationals are authenticating via these machines to the corporate applications that they need to do their work. So it appears as though they're working from here in the United States, for example. We've seen law enforcement take down several of these laptop farms already. Our team has built a little lab to test all of the various techniques that are used for these remote access tools. And so we recommend our customers have a sanctioned list, a sanctioned allow list of here are the remote access tools you're allowed to use and in what context. Everything else you need detection for. You need to be able to detect it as soon as it's turned on so that you can identify if you have inadvertently started allowing access to your systems from one of these individuals.
Right.
All those indicators are in the report.
Yeah, no, very helpful. Again, learning so much. So if we're looking ahead with the rapid advancements in AI technology, do you have any predictions around how these campaigns may continue to evolve into the future?
Sure. Well, so far we've seen the DPRK scheme get really, really good at landing individuals in a job and keeping the job for as long as possible. The one thing they haven't quite got right is probably the deepfake technology. We've certainly started to see them experiment with it and iterate over time, but there's always those one or two little glitches or one or two little features that you can use as a recruiter to be able to pick if they're using a deepfake technology, a real-time video deepfake. I think, though, that at the rate at which generative AI tools are advancing at the moment, it won't be long before they get that right, which only really underscores how important identity verification is.
Yeah, the urgency, absolutely. So there's a lot of great information. What is the best way that customers can tap into Okta Threat Intelligence?
Great. So for all of our customers, their primary security contact can authenticate to security.okta.com, and they can access these written advisories that we produce, and they'll be being uploaded to that portal on basically a weekly basis. So when we see a threat and when we analyze it, we'll write up these reports and provide them there. So that's available to all of our customers. If you are a customer of our identity threat protection product, then the Okta Threat Intelligence team is often taking the indicators, IP addresses, usernames, all that kind of thing, from our analysis, and we're feeding that directly into identity threat protection so that if your organization interacts with with a system or a network or an individual that we have some suspicions about,
Right.
you're going to be able to take action directly in the product. So take action directly in real time. So there's two different ways that we're trying to make that intelligence actionable for our customers.
Yeah, very helpful, especially in this landscape today. Well, thank you so much for sharing these insights. We're really excited to learn more from you and your team, and we'll be sharing out the links to our attendees so folks can learn more. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.